Welcome to Mrs. Robinson's presentation on how we got our government. Today you live in America with your family. Luckily, you don't have to think about dictators telling you what to do. Yes, I know you have to go to school now, but later you can choose what kind of life you want. Sometimes people take our democracy and our government for granted and don't think about how it got created. These slides are going to give you a quick overview of that process. Do you realize that no government in the world was based on this new idea of being ruled by the consent of the governed at the time that America was created? What does that mean? Instead of one person having all the power, the people can choose who they want to represent them in the government. This is a new and exciting idea. So at the time, there were 13 states with their own leaders and a weak central government. It was difficult to get everyone to agree as to what was to be done. Now we have 3 separate branches of government who share power, make decisions and laws, and represent the needs of the people. The executive branch is made up of the president and his cabinet. Next is the legislative branch, which is made up of 535 representatives who've been elected from every state. And finally, the judicial branch is the Supreme Court, which is made up of 9 judges who work to make sure that all laws passed in the House are legal. If you feel there should be a new law, let's say people should be able to vote, maybe finish school or join the army at 16 years old, do you have time to go and speak with the president, and does he have time to talk to everyone? Probably not. That is why we all get to vote to send someone to represent us to go to Washington, D.C. But how do we make sure that every state is represented fairly? The system was implemented where each state got a number of representatives based on their population. But the smaller states felt that this was not fair, and their wishes would get ignored by the larger, more powerful states. So the Great Compromise created the Senate and the House of Representatives to answer that issue. Okay, so here's the deal. America has 2 separate houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives. The Senate is populated with 2 senators from each state, no matter how big or small that state is. The membership of the House of Representatives is based on how many people live in that state. Together with the executive branch, the president, they work together to make laws and govern the country. So, how many states do we have? And if there are 2 senators per state, how many senators do we have? Next, let's talk about the House of Representatives. As we know, this is based on population. California has the most people living in it, so we get to send the most representatives, 55, to Washington, D.C. Oregon, which has a lot less people, only gets to send 7 people. However, Oregon gets to send the same amount of senators as California, since all states get 2. Here's an example of some different states and the number of people they can send to Washington, D.C. And one more thing. In this time in history, America had slavery. These slaves were not allowed to vote, but the less populated southern states saw this as an opportunity to get more representation in Congress by asking for the slave population to be counted as state residents. This not only helped these states get the things they wanted more easily, but it also made them fight a lot harder against the abolition of slavery. The agreement was that a slave could not be counted as a whole resident, but that 5 slaves could equal 3 residents. What do you think about that? So the senators were divided into 2 groups, the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. The Federalists believed that the Constitution was absolute and should not be changed in any way. The Anti-Federalists were more worried about the farmers and less powerful people losing a lot of their civil liberties and wanted to make sure that they were protected. This led to making the Bill of Rights, which addressed most of their concerns. Some of the things this protected were the right to speak freely, even if it was against the government, and also gave the people the right to write whatever they wanted to in newspapers, and is known as the freedom of the press. Some countries do not even have these laws today, and we put this in place over 200 years ago. Could you imagine living in a country where you are not allowed to complain about anything the government did? Even though there were 10 amendments in the original bill, I just wanted to talk about the first 3. I know you're eager to learn about the rest of them yourselves, so feel free to look that up as soon as this is over. In the 1700s, everyone had to wear long sleeves, but with this amendment, people would be able to walk in public with their arms showing. This led to the invention of the t-shirt. This is known as the right to bear arms. Just kidding. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, actually allowed people to own guns even though they were not in the military. The Third Amendment was created because under King George, the British soldiers were allowed to just move into the colonists' houses if they wanted. So now if you find soldiers who want to be in your house, you can charge them rent. So what have you learned? Please answer the questions on your worksheet and write a summary of the main points that you have learned.